All right, let's dive right in into the world of flow computers, specifically the SFC332 model from Dynamic Flow Computers.
That's right.
So we're using the SFC332 Liquid Pulse Operator Manual to sort of break down what this device is all about and how it's actually used. And I think people are going to be pretty surprised
I think so.
at some of the things that this thing can do.
Absolutely.
So for those of us who maybe aren't super familiar with flow computers, can you give us just like a quick rundown of what the SFC332 is and what it does?
Yeah, so the SFC332, it's a flow computer, and what it does is it measures, calculates, and reports the flow of liquids.
Okay.
So that could be anything from, crude oil, refined products, really a variety of different things.
So it's not just for one specific type of liquid.
Exactly.
It can handle a variety.
It's very versatile.
Okay, cool.
And, it uses different measurement techniques, one of them being pulse interpolation, which is a very accurate way to measure the flow.
Pulse interpolation.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty high tech.
It is. It's a way of basically counting pulses from a flow meter, and it can even count fractions of a pulse.
Wow.
So it's very precise.
So this is really for folks that need like super accurate reading.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you need precision, this is the tool for you.
Okay, cool. So we know it's really good at what it does.
Right.
But what about like everyday use?
Yeah.
How easy is this thing to actually use?
Well, that's one of the great things about the SFC332 is it's actually designed with the user in mind.
Okay.
So it's got a very user-friendly interface, both on the device itself and also through the software that comes with it.
So you can either interact directly with the device or use the software.
Exactly.
Okay.
The software is kind of like your command center.
Okay.
You can control everything from configuration to reports.
So it's almost like having a remote control for your flow measurements.
Yeah, you can think of it that way.
Okay.
And things like file management are very straightforward.
Okay.
You can open, save, delete configuration files.
Easy peasy.
Yeah, and even connecting your computer to the flow computer is very simple.
And the manual walks you through that process.
It does. Yeah, there are step-by-step instructions.
Awesome.
And even if you run into a problem, the manual actually has troubleshooting tips.
So they've really tried to anticipate any issues that someone might have.
Absolutely.
And kind of hold your hand through the process.
Yeah, they really want to make sure that anyone can use this device regardless of their technical skill level.
Okay, so it seems like they've really prioritized making this thing user-friendly.
For sure.
Now, I'm looking at the manual here, and it mentions a bunch of different menus like tools, override, prover-meter reports.
Yeah.
Can you give us a quick overview of what those are all about?
Sure. So those menus are basically how you access all the different functions of the SFC332.
Okay.
So, for example, the tools menu is where you go to set up communications, configure the meter, and even manage security levels.
Okay, so it's like a control panel for the whole system.
Yeah, exactly. And then you've got the meter menu where you can define things like units of measurement, set thresholds for alarms.
Okay.
You can even determine how it calculates averages.
You can really fine-tune it.
You can really customize it to your specific needs, yeah.
That's cool.
And then you've got menus like override, which is basically like a manual override switch.
Okay.
So let's say you need to adjust a setting quickly, like prover settings or meter factors. You can do that through the override menu.
Gotcha.
And then you've got the prover menu, which is dedicated to proving the accuracy of your flow meter.
Okay, so that's like making sure that it's actually measuring correctly.
That's right. It's a built-in verification system.
That's pretty important.
Very important, especially when accuracy is critical.
Okay, so it seems like they've really packed a lot of functionality into this thing.
They really have. Yeah, and we've only just scratched the surface.
Oh, really?
There's so much more to explore.
Okay, well, I'm ready to go deeper.
All right.
Let's unlock some of these more advanced features.
Okay, let's do it.
What else can this thing do?
Well, we were talking about user-friendliness, and I think that's a good segue into some of the more powerful features.
Okay.
Because what's really cool about the SFC332 is that it combines this ease of use with some really advanced capabilities.
So it's not just simple. It can actually do some pretty sophisticated stuff.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
All right, well, let's dive in.
Let's hear about these power user features.
Okay, so one of the things that the manual mentions is something called Modbus shift.
Modbus shifts?
Yeah, have you ever heard of that?
I have not.
Okay, so Modbus is a communication protocol that devices use to talk to each other.
Right.
And Modbus shift lets you customize how that conversation happens.
Okay.
So you can basically tell the system exactly where to find the information you need.
So it's like creating shortcuts.
Yeah. Exactly. It's a real time saver for anyone who really knows their way around Modbus.
So this is for folks who are maybe a little bit more advanced users.
Yeah, you'd have to be familiar with Modbus to really take advantage of this feature.
Gotcha.
But if you are, it can be incredibly useful.
Okay, cool. And I also see here that there's a feature called Turbine Diagnose.
Yes.
What's that all about?
So this is where the SFC332's diagnostic capabilities really shine.
Yep.
Imagine you're a mechanic, but instead of cars, you're dealing with flow meters.
Right.
Turbine Diagnose is like having a specialized toolkit that allows you to troubleshoot potential problems with the turbine meter.
Okay.
It uses a 2 megahertz clock.
Wow.
For incredibly precise diagnostics.
So it can really pinpoint what's going on.
It can, yeah, and it can help you identify issues with remarkable accuracy.
So it's almost like the SFC332 can talk to the flow meter and figure out what's wrong.
You could say that, yeah.
That's pretty cool.
It's pretty amazing technology.
And to make things even better, it looks like the SFC332 also has different security codes.
It does.
For different responsibility levels.
Yes. So depending on your role, you can access certain features and make adjustments. Okay.
But critical settings are protected.
That makes sense from a security standpoint.
Absolutely. You don't want just anyone to be able to change critical parameters.
Right.
It's all about maintaining data integrity.
Okay, cool. Well, we've talked a lot about features, but let's not forget about those everyday users.
Yeah.
The folks who are using this device day in and day out.
Right.
How does the SFC332 make their lives easier?
Well, I think it all comes down to intuitive design and accessibility.
Okay.
The menu structure is very logical and easy to navigate. Right. You don't have to be a computer whiz to find your way around.
And those configuration files that we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Those are easy to manage, too.
Very easy.
Yeah.
The DOS software makes it a breeze.
So they've really made an effort to make this a user-friendly experience.
Absolutely. They want to empower the user.
Okay, cool. Well, it sounds like the SFC332 is a pretty impressive device.
I think so.
Both in terms of its features and its ease of use. Yeah, it's a really great example of how technology can be both sophisticated and user-friendly.
All right. Well, I'm excited to see what else we can uncover about this thing.
Me too.
Let's continue our deep dive and see how the SFC332 is being used in the real world.
All right, let's do it. So we're back and ready to see where the SFC332 is actually used out in the field.
Yeah, this is the part I always look forward to, seeing how this stuff actually gets put to work.
Absolutely.
So let's start with custody transfer.
Okay.
I mean, that's a pretty high-stakes application.
Big time.
You're talking about a lot of money changing hands based on these measurements.
That's right. You got to make sure those numbers are right.
Exactly. So how does the SFC332 help ensure accuracy in these custody transfer situations?
Well, the SFC332 is all about accuracy.
Okay.
I mean, it records every single drop of liquid that passes through the meter.
Wow.
And it creates a tamper-proof log of the entire transaction.
So there's no room for error?
No room for error, no disputes, no discrepancies. Everything is crystal clear.
That's got to be a huge relief for both the buyer and the seller.
It is, yeah. It takes the guesswork out of it.
No more arguing over how much liquid was transferred.
Exactly. And remember those security codes we talked about earlier?
Yeah.
They play a big role here, too.
Okay.
Because they prevent unauthorized modifications.
So nobody can mess with the data.
Nobody can mess with the data. It's all about maintaining that data integrity.
Okay, cool. So it sounds like the SFC332 is a real game changer for custody transfer.
It really is.
Now, what about pipeline monitoring?
Yeah.
How does the SFC332 help keep those pipelines flowing smoothly?
Well, pipelines are like the arteries of the liquid transport industry.
Okay.
And the SFC332 is kind of like the heart.
Okay.
It's constantly monitoring the flow rate, pressure, temperature, all those vital signs.
So it's making sure everything is running as it should.
Exactly. And if something goes wrong,
right,
the SFC332 can detect it.
Okay.
It can even send out an alarm.
So like an early warning system.
Yeah, you could say that.
That's pretty important when you're talking about potentially hazardous material.
Oh, absolutely. You want to catch those problems early on.
And those alarm logs that we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Those provide a record of what happened.
They do. Yeah, they give you a detailed history of any issues.
So you can go back and figure out what went wrong.
And prevent it from happening again.
Okay. So it's not just about monitoring. It's also about learning from past events.
Right. Continuous improvement.
Okay, cool. And I know we touched on this a bit earlier, but the SFC332 can also be used in other industries, like chemical processing.
Absolutely.
Right.
I mean, anywhere where you need precise liquid measurement and control.
So it's not just for oil and gas?
Nope. It's a very versatile device.
Okay, cool. Well, It sounds like the SFC332 is really making a difference in a lot of different areas.
It is. Yeah, it's a powerful tool.
And those detailed reports that it generates?
Yeah.
Those are really valuable too.
Oh, they're a gold mine of information. They can help you with performance analysis, troubleshooting, even regulatory compliance.
Wow, so the SFC332 is not just a flow computer, it's like a data powerhouse.
You got it.
Okay, well, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
We have.
From the basics of flow measurement to these real-world applications.
Right.
And I think what really stands out to me is how the SFC332 combines power and usability.
Yeah, that's a great point.
It's sophisticated, but it's also accessible to a wide range of users.
Exactly. It doesn't matter if you're a seasoned engineer or a new technician, the SFC332 is designed to be easy to use.
That's pretty impressive.
It is.
Okay, well, this has been an incredible journey.
It has.
Learning about the SFC332 and all the amazing things it can do.
Yeah, it's really fascinating technology.
So what's the biggest takeaway for our listeners today?
I'd say the biggest takeaway is that the SFC332 is a game changer.
Okay.
It's revolutionizing the way we measure and manage liquid flow.
And it's doing it in a way that's both powerful and user-friendly.
Exactly.
All right, well, that's a great note to end on. It is. So thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of the SFC332 flow computer.
You're welcome.
We hope you learned something new and maybe even discovered a newfound appreciation for the technology that keeps our world flowing.
Absolutely. Until next time, keep exploring.
Stay curious.
Yeah.